let's start our today's topic. So the topic for this week is Ajax and
Officer, sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. But I am not able to take this course. We students of CPA and CPD are not able to take this course because we are not enrolled for because we are not enrolled for Seneca International.
Right. So this is as I said, this is the topic for today, Ajax, which is all very, very important, part of our, not only of, as I said, not only of 222, it will give you a very good sense of how you work with this in 222. But as I said, we'll be taking this knowledge to 322 and 422 ultimately. So let's start with Ajax. So Ajax, it really sometimes, in good early days, people used to say that this is not asynchronous JavaScript and XML, but now this is very much the case. So it's basically the acronym, if it stands as it stands, is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So A for asynchronous JavaScript and XML, right? So it's a term coined by someone like Jesse James Garrett in 2005 that refers to an approach to web development that uses dynamic requests to a server to update portions of the page at runtime. Now, something very interesting. Till now, we have not talked about anything related to servers. Rather, we are always talking about the client side of scripting. I'm just turning off my video again so that if internet has a problem, it's settled. So up till now, we were only talking about the client-side scripts or the client-side portion of the web development. But we have been running our web pages by running the server, NPX Lite server, HTTPS server, you remember? So we have always worked on that, and we know that we were running our programs from the server. But till now, we have not discussed anything about getting the data from somewhere, or dynamically loading some data from something, from the server, from anywhere. So but the Ajax here, like in Ajax, we are first, to start something important, that we are talking about the dynamic requests to a server to update portions at runtime. Now let me tell you an interesting fact. You all are looking at my web page right now, which is this web322 web22.ca. Let me just close this one. When I press this refresh button, reload button, if I click on this, what happens? You see my status bar that I'm waiting for this web22. It means that I have made a request, and now server will be responding back with some of the requests. Like again, whenever I do a refresh, my whole page goes back. By goes back, I mean I go to the server and request this all over, request this all over, request this all over. Whenever I click on this, you see a jerk, a simple click jerk. That shows that now I am basically waiting for something. I have gone back and I'm bringing something. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Now, this is one scenario, that when I click on something, my whole page request goes back and that things come in front, right? So this is one type. The other type is, for example, I want to update this particular area, web222 week 12. I want to update this area. And by some means, I say that when I click on this, or when I click on a button something, only this area should be updated. And my server, I should not request server for the whole web22.ca. Rather, I am only looking for this portion, maybe which I'm calling X portion. I want to change this X portion of the website. I don't want to send my complete web page or request to the web server, and I don't want to request, like I don't want to receive the complete web page all over. What I want instead is that I just want to have this portion updated for me, right? What does that mean? It means that now I am not putting a load on server by sending a complete page or by requesting a complete page, rather requesting some part of it. One another example, whenever we select, Mark, is that like a microphone is doing some problem? today it will be a bit disturbed because, as I said that not updating the complete page, not requesting the complete page, rather requesting a single field or a single area of my web page. Second example, and you would have seen that example. Whenever you select country as Canada from a drop down, only the provinces from the Canada will come back from the server. And I'll show you an example today as well for that. Right now, just making you understand that. You would have seen that a number of times when you are filling out a form, you have seen that you have a country drop down, for example, and country drop down says, for example, Canada, CA. So when I drop down it and select Canada, here we have the list of provinces, and all the provinces of Canada always are uploaded, updated. Not these provinces do not come from US or from some other country. And why is that? Or how Ajax is playing there? That I go and select this Canada from here. This Canada only goes back to the server, the giant server from where I'm getting this website from. And it asks, okay, just give me the values related to Canada, and server populates some values, for example, number of provinces that we have, and it comes back with those provinces and updates this one. What difference do you see? This was the complete page. Do you see that the complete page is not updating on my request? Rather, only one text box or one drop down menu or one select option is being updated on my request. Is that does that make sense to everyone? What I'm trying to make you understand, that a complete web page, we don't want complete web page to load. Rather, we want to have portions of the web page to be loaded. Now, please remember, and some people say yes. So please remember, when we are talking about a portion of web page being dynamically loading from the server, we are typically talking about what? Ajax. I hope I made my point clear over here. That Ajax is a technology that allows you to update the parts of web page rather than updating the complete web page. So see here, that refers to an approach to a web development that uses dynamic requests. Again, dynamic requests. I want these states of Canada. I want these states of US. So whatever. So dynamic request to a server to update portions of the page at runtime. So whenever my website is running, I don't want to request all the web page. I say just go and bring states of Canada. Just go and bring states of US, like that. Today, the method is so common that it's hard to talk about it not existing. But at that time specifically, it was a game changer. What do you think? What is the benefit of all this? Like in these 3 lines, what benefit or the thing that I have made you understand, what benefit do you think are we getting in modern day web development? Or maybe at that time, it was a higher speed using website. That's very good. Anyone else? That's very good answer. Higher speed while using internet, the websites. That's a good point. Anyone else? Less data transfer. That's very good. Oh, lost my voice. Okay, Khushwant, I'm repeating my question. Okay, I'm repeating my question. That what is the benefit that you feel we would be getting after using Ajax? Because in 2005 they say that it was a game changer. Till now, it's a very amazing technology, interesting technology. So what are the benefit? Someone said that less data to transmit and the higher speed when using websites. Absolute results can also be a possible point. That's good. Anyone else? That's a good guess. Anyone else? Any answers? More powerful websites, of course. Yes, you're right. So let's go back to your previous answer, which was high speed when using websites. What does that mean? Whenever you request a web page, please bear in mind, I'm requesting this working with JSON page, for example. So when you are requesting a web page, you are crowding your network. Your network is crowded with your request, and then this request comes back. Now, listen about that. For example, I say I want to have this. Maybe this was on the same page. But if something is outside of the page, for example, again, I'm requesting a new page. So whenever I request something, I'm populating my network area. And in that situation where I was talking about that we have got a city, country names, and I have to populate only the states from that country. So why bother sending the complete page? Because if you are sending the complete page back, which used to happen, by the way, before 2005, it used to happen that time. Someone wants to say something? Okay, looks like by mistake. So it used to happen that complete web page used to go. But now, as I said, that if you are requesting a complete web page, sending this back request, again getting complete page, it means you are crowding your network resources, So now what we are saying, we are only sending this field and bringing up or populating this field from the server. So that means I'm saving myself for making excessive requests of the complete web page rather requesting just a portion of it.
Underground માં basement હોય ને આર્યું કાઢ્યો નથી.
That's good. Okay, I'll have to see the participants.
સારું ચલો.
Okay, so okay, so let's talk about that one. All right, so yes, so that's what I was talking about. So I hope you understand the gist or the main point of Ajax. Now, Ajax stands for this, which is based on a group of web technologies, HTML, and at the time XHTML. At that time, it used to be XHTML. There were different shapes of HTML in the good old days. XHTML, then DHTML, and something like that. So there were lots of shape at that time. But now it has all been cleaned up to this HTML5. CSS, JavaScript, DOM, XML, JSON. I'll talk about this JSON, and maybe some of the XML we'll talk about. DOM we know already, and a web API called XML HTTP request, which is a very interesting part, which we'll be covering today. So this is something that we'll be covering that, or just XHR. It's the short name for this HTTP request, XHR. So before 2005, web browsers lacked a lot of modern features we take for granted today. Web servers were used to build and serve all for most aspects of the web page. Making changes to, so again, making changes to a page meant a full request response strip, as I'm saying to you. So making a full request response. If I just refresh it, I am making a full request to this page, and it's coming back as a full page. Which should not be the case. Which should not be the way to do the things. In order to update the content, the entire page had to be reloaded for anything significant to change. Today we expect a real-time data to be part of our web page browsing experience. Consider a site like Gmail or Google Maps. If we want to see messages in another folder, or navigate to another city, we expect to be able to do that without having to reload the entire page. The example that I've given you. If you are looking for a map city in a map, you will just look for updating that city or map. You just don't want to have that website all over again. I hope now this has made much of the point. So now, instead of modifying the entire DOM, we instead make background requests from the data for data from servers, and then use the data to update the page's content live via DOM's APIs. Now comes a very important concept of asynchronous. Can anyone tell me, like in general meaning of asynchronous, not computing or not Ajax meaning, but general meaning of asynchronous? What do we mean by asynchronous in general? Can anyone tell me what is the occurrence separate from each other? That's very good. Anyone else? That's very good. Anyone else? Not live. Yes. So these days the lectures also, right? I will be taking my class asynchronously or synchronously. So right now we are synchronous or asynchronous? Of course we are right now. Yes, anyone? Devam, we are not asynchronous. We are synchronous. I am very much alive. I have not shared a video with you, right, today. So, okay. So yes. So asynchronous means that, in background or in different parts, right? So for example, I record a lecture and I share it with you. So that is an asynchronous delivery. Like, I am not right now with you, not currently doing something with you. Like, again, I've just provided you the content and you are looking at it. Anyhow, on web, please listen to this. And this is a very important part for you. As I said, 322, you will need this concept. You will be studying the promises there and you need to have this concept. So instead of modifying the entire page of or DOM, we instead make background requests for data from servers. How can we fit it over here? I am right now talking to you, and we have got a very good example for today. In the beginning you asked, or I was having discussion that what course I am teaching. So without stopping my class, I didn't even open that web browser in front of you. I opened that web browser in my other screen, on my other screen, and I brought in some data. And while the time this data was coming, I was not silent. I was continuously talking to you. Do you understand today's example? A very real-time example for today. So what I have done, I have asynchronously brought up some data from my, like Blackboard, from my portal. And now I shared that data with you while I received that data. By that time, I just continuously had a discussion with you people. Do you people understand? This was a synchronous job being done by me today. Are you getting that? I hope you are getting that. Again, it's a very like fresh example from today's part, right? Okay, so we try to understand a web page. We want to do something in the background requests. Like if you need some data from server, if you need to work on something, you go to the background and you ask them to just update that data from the servers, and then you use that data to update page content live ad hoc. And then when data is received, your page is doing all the rest of the things. But whenever that data is received, you just update that data by using that to the DOM, to shipping that to the DOM. And we'll see the example shortly. Right. So as we know from previous discussions, web browsers use HTTPS to send requests to web servers, which build replies and send back responses, HTML, CSS, images, fonts, JavaScript, etc. This all comes from the server, server sends back. While we don't want to have reload the entire page in order to get updates from the server, we would like to be able to leverage this communication pattern from within the running page. We need a way to make HTTP requests, wait for responses from the server, and then do something with that data. Now, I hope that makes a little sense. But again, as we'll move through and we'll see some examples, you'll be very good in that. So browsers provide a mechanism for doing this in the form of XML HTTP request object. So we have got something in browser which is called XML HTTP requests, or XHR for short. It's also called XHR. This XHR object lets us create and send HTTP requests to the server and get back data responses in various forms, like XML, like HTML, like JSON, it can be like text, like binary, etc. Now listen about that. Except XML HTTP request, or XHR. It's an object, or it's something that will enable us to request HTTP for some data. And whenever we request something, of course, when you request something, you will get back something. So you get back the data responses in various forms, and you will talk about these forms, but you get back something. Whenever you request something, you get back something, right? Our XHR requests happen in the background. So when I make an XHR request, it will be happening in the background asynchronously without blocking the main UI thread in the browser. So users can continue to work and interact with the page while we wait for a response. I hope now this all makes sense to you. First of all, the summary of this. XML HTTP request, or XHR, is a way to request something in background asynchronously without blocking the main UI thread in the browser. And whenever that data is received, the browser does what? It loads up into the DOM, and after loading that into the DOM, it shows us, the data on our DOM, on our page. Here I will stop for a second, and I would remind you one of the topic that we have discussed in our class. How many of you remember we have worked on something called cats? You remember we were loading the cats URL from a JavaScript file, and then on the basis of those files, we were showing the cat's pictures or cat's name, their links and everything. Do you people remember that? That was a very interesting topic, and I hope you have seen that. Can anyone tell me what was that lecture number? Or like again, I want to reference that here because those people who are new and who are having a bit of difficulty, they should go back and check that lecture. Can anyone tell me what was that lecture about? Like I'll just quickly find that out. Yeah. And I will not find that out. So what is the difference between this exercise that we did in our week 7 and the exercise that we are doing today? That in this exercise, or this part of it, our all data was residing in one of the file that was on our server. So we were not bringing something from outside world or outside something, right? Rather, we had our own server, like hosting a JS file where we had all these links of cats available, and we were running these files, and we were just extracting those information and showing it over here. What we are doing today, on the other hand, so today what we are doing, we will be bringing this data from some other website from using some of the APIs. Now, who will tell me what is an API? Because this is an important part and everyone should know. API. Yes, can anyone tell me what is API in general without Google? If you have any prior experience, those who have. Yes, that's good. What is this application programming interface? Can you just tell me like a quick generic introduction to API? What is application programming interface in general? Allows user to send requests and retrieve replies. That's very good. That allows to, yes, Devam, what does that allows to what? Two apps to talk to each other. That's very good. Again, so all those definitions that you people have given, starting for application programming interface, yes, API stands for allows users to send requests and retrieve replies. Yes, that is very much true. And allows two applications to talk to each other. That's very interesting. Let me tell you a very interesting, important aspect of it also, which you might know or which you might don't, no problems. I want to extract data from Seneca website. For example, I'm making my own website where I'm providing students this facility that they can come and see their timetable schedule on my website. I'm creating a mobile app, for example. Some students that create mobile app. They want to know that they want to have that data. For example, whenever Seneca updates the data on their website, my application should go there and try to read or try to talk to the website of Seneca and asks for the time scheduling that they have mentioned, they have just uploaded. And if I get that response from them, I get that data. I will take that data and I'll just make, format data according to my own format, and then I will display it in my application. In that way, what I'm doing is I will be using the API of Seneca that Seneca website has provided. I will go to that API. I will use that API to bring on some data onto my page. Those who are listening for the first time, does that make sense to you people? As Devam has said, the very good definition. Two applications talking to each other. My application, I have created a mobile app that I want you to use for looking at your schedules or everything. So, but of course, I cannot create this data by my own because it's the schedule that Seneca releases. So if it is something that Seneca will release, so I need to contact Seneca website for getting this information. And once I get this information, I will update that information on my web page. So the way that I will be using to extract data from Seneca is basically I'll be talking to the API of Seneca website. Can anyone give me any other example of that from our real world, from our daily routine work? What are the different APIs that we can use for, or maybe that comes in mind that, okay, we will be using that API for that particular? Can anyone give you a single example? Just a single example will be enough. Do you understand my example that I've given? Seneca website. Yes, I'm repeating the question, Samuel. So, do you understand, Samuel? My question, my example that Seneca publishes the schedule on their website, and they have got their API. So when my application wants to update your like Samuel's timetable, my application will go and talk to the API of Seneca website, and that Seneca website will give me the schedule, because this schedule is nothing, not the property of someone else. It's the property of Seneca. So I'll get that schedule and I'll show that schedule after getting the data on my web application for you. You got my point? So do you see that this kind of interaction we will be making at some other places as well? This was my question. Or anyone can come up with the answer. Not only Samuel, maybe it's some other. Oh, I hope people are here and they can hear me. Okay, Samuel, I think you are still okay. Maybe I'm not asking this question clearly. Let's. But again, I'm concerned that no one is replying anything else. At least you are replying. Mark, thank you. I didn't understand the question either. Okay, you are not understanding the question. All right, so I think question is not clear. But Mark, that has to be the response at least as you have given. So other people, whether they are not understanding the question or not getting the answer or not knowing the answer, not guessing the answer by the way. So if what is the case, I cannot guess. Only I have got response from you two people. No other one has turned up. So what should I understand? Whether these people are only logged in and they are not listening to me? Okay, confused. No problem. That's a very valid question or answer. Confused or IDK. I always prefer this. Love to have this IDK answer. Or again, if you are confused, that's very good. You are mentioning that I'm confused. I don't get your answer. Didn't hear it. Okay. Anyone else? Very slow response. Anyhow, let's for those, at least those people who have responded, I should entertain them first. So for those who are confused or did not understand the question, I'm repeating my scenario. Do you understand this scenario? Listen, I have made a mobile application that is for students, for the students of Seneca. And I say to you that whenever you have to look at your schedule, you come to my website and log in, and you will find your schedule over here. But do you know, do you understand that this schedule is not something that I'm making for you? This schedule will be made by Seneca website, Seneca people. You got everyone getting that? The scenario I'm telling you. Okay, that's good. That's good. So it means that whenever I will be making my mobile app, what I'll do is that I will use the API provided by the Seneca to talk to Seneca website and bring up all that data that they have published with respect to the time schedule, and I will bring that data into my application, and I will create a very beautiful table for you and present that table. So where this data is coming from? Can anyone tell me where this data is coming from? Is this something that I'm creating myself? Like I am producing this data? No, yes, that's good. It's Seneca's website or Seneca's API. Thank you very much. So it's a Seneca's web API. So my question, okay, now everyone understand that other than these two who are saying Seneca API? Because it's the data that is coming from Seneca. So my application needs to talk to Seneca API to get this data, to get schedule of Samuel, for example. My application will need to talk to Seneca website. Does that make sense? Not you two people who have responded, other than you. Okay, that's good. Now listen, this is one yes is also enough for me. Now, yes, now listen. Now listen. What I was saying that, do you find any other examples? I'm just giving myself. If I ask you to make a mobile or a web application that shows, for example, that shows all the friend list of your friend from Facebook, XYZ friend. Now, if Facebook allows and things are there, Facebook and Twitter and all these, they also have those APIs in them that allow users to come and extract few things. For example, let me give you an example. I hope you understand that. For example, you want to know everything related to weather. So there is a Twitter account for weather application or weather. I want to have all those tweets. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You are right. iNaturalist pictures and etc. You are right. So I want to bring up those ones. So yeah, this is the type of example I was looking for, right? Anyhow, so when you want to, for example, you want to have all those tweets from the weather department, you go to the Twitter and you say, I need all the response or all the information from the weather. So it means that all those weather tweets will be coming to your system, and you will be using yours for your own product, for our own project. Make sense? Now, it means that you are talking to the Twitter API that they've provided to bring or to extract APIs from different people. For weather first of all. Same way, if you pay them, they will provide you something. You know, they have got different levels that, if, for example, I've gone mad enough and I say that I want to have all the friend list of my friend, for example, which might not be the case that directly provided. Might be they have a payment module and they say that, okay, you pay us, for example, so many dollars, and we will just provide you all the list of your like friends of the particular person. But again, either case, you will be interacting with the API of Twitter. I think I think I cannot emphasize more enough on that. I hope you understand the API concept. Talking to application, talking to other applications, talking to website. That's very good. Samuel says, okay, that's very good. That's very nice. Okay. So as I said, I will just repeat the example, the cat example that we have done was not bringing up data from some outside world or outside web pages. Rather, it was or API by the or another direct API. Rather, it was bringing data from our script file, JavaScript file, which we have seen. Like, you know, this was our file where everything was residing. This was our file where all those photo URLs were residing. I brought up those photos on my page, on my HTML, and I extracted them and I just used them to have all those numbers of photos. But what I am trying to do over here is that I want to bring something from the outside world, right? From the other application, from the other website. Now, to bring those things, we have XHR, XML HTTP request object that will be used for bringing up that data. So you see here, first of all, let's see the, you know, the example, like, you know, the sample code being given here. var XHR is equal to new XML HTTP request, creating a new instance of this one. We are just creating a new instance. And you know, whenever something starts with a capital letter, what is it called? Your revision. What it is called when some function name starts. Oh, thank you very much. You have been very active today. It is called a constructor, and it's mentioned here. So now we are creating a variable var XHR equal to new XML HTTP request. So a constructor has been used, set up some few things and things like that. XHR.onload. You remember onload function? We have talked about that in JavaScript, in other things. That onload, whenever this XHR, define an event handler for the load event, which happens when data arrives. When data will come, like this HTTP XHR request will execute and data will come. The data has been loaded. XHR.onload is equal to function. To run a function, you need to run a function. And what you need to do? var data equals to this dot response text. Now, this response text is a text that will be coming back from this XHR request. So var data is equal to this dot response text. So whenever we have called that, just bring up the response text from this XHR data. This is the response text property of XHR object, right? So bring up this response text. Console.log data arrived, data, and we are showing that what data has come back, when the data will come here. Everyone got that point? Now let's talk about it. XHR.open. Now this is, can you execute the code? Oh yeah, I will execute. Don't worry. I'm just making you understand, and I'll execute the code, and I'll show you each and every step. You know, right now I'm just making you understand that, and then I'll run that. Sharp, you got my point? Please don't be don't say that I'll just skip that everything. Now, XHR.open get http example.com. Now, this is the URL where you go and bring up this XHR request, the data that I'm looking for, bring that one and use the method, which one? The get method. You remember get, post, and there are port, delete, and all those else, etc. But right now, just consider xhr.open. Create an HTTP GET request to the given URL. The given URL where you want to, in my example, Seneca.com. If I have to bring up your data, I'll write Seneca.com over here. Or whatever interface Seneca has provided to us. I will mention that. I will say use the GET method and open this one. So you're creating this connection. Now, xhr.send, send this request, send the HTTP request to the server and wait asynchronously for the reply. Now, this is the step where we start sending. And when we will receive this data, what will happen? Can anyone tell me what will happen when this data will be received? Yes, anyone? What will happen when x.send, send the HTTP request to the server and wait asynchronously for the reply? So we are requesting example.com for some data. When this data comes, what will happen? Okay, anyone else? Create a GET request to the URL to the variable XHR. Okay, that's good. That is created and this is sent also. We have sent that data, sent that request. Now that sent request has come back. Now please listen. Yes, it is waiting for that. But what if when the response will request, please bear in mind, this will execute. This function will execute when data will be received. This is the asynchronous nature. Like again, this function will start working on the background and it will, unless it will receive the data, this function will not execute. Are you getting that? Now, as Rishab mentioned, or Rishab was looking for, I will just discuss one of the example over here. And by the way, this example is given in your notes, but I would type this example over here with you people just to show you the exact things, how things are happening. So please, I would love all of you. Yes, exactly. Yes, you are right. So when it receives the data, the onload function executes. The function executes, which we have done on onload. You are right. Very right. Okay. So I want all of you to just follow me up because I want to have you a good sense, because we can just copy and paste that code as well. But I'm not doing that. Rather, what I'm doing is that I am typing that one by myself. Just to give you each and every step, because looking at the code without running it is not good, as Rishab mentioned, right? So we are talking about this Bitcoin example which they have given, but I will just show you that specifically that you can use. Right? So I would like all of you to just make a folder and be ready with this document. Right. So now inside body, what they have done, and what I'm just following it up with you people. So current Bitcoin. So it will be just telling us the current Bitcoin prices, Bitcoin value, and span. And in span, they've used an ID equal to Bitcoin dash value. So there is nothing over here, but again, we'll be updating this, and this Bitcoin value will be coming over here, like, in between. So again, for example, if I say 111, so this value will come over here, which is not there. So we'll bring that by using the data. So is everyone following me? Because I want you people to just follow me up again. Why? Because I'm just typing that one, and why? And just to make you understand each and every step of it. I just don't want to read through it. Rather, I want you to just understand the concept. So everyone following me, please a quick response in the chat window. That's good, because we'll be going step by step, and this will give you a good sense of how things are happening. So now, first of all, the first thing that I want to do, window.onload. First of all, window.onload. We run our function on onload of window when window is loaded. When it is completely loaded, we want to run a window.onload. Now you see here, what do we want? We want to extract the current value of the Bitcoin, and we want to show that current value on our web page over here. As I said, like here, not there will be some numbers, right? I want to show it over here. So to extract that, what I'm doing is that I'm running, first of all, I've just run an onload function. I've just defined an onload function, and here I am calling a function that I'll create, get current value. Right? So please type with me so that again we'll be going step by step for everything. Now listen about that. What is this? Let me just introduce you first. If I say this is a website which is blockchain.com, it shows the price of Bitcoin and things like that. Everything is just showing over here, and they have given an API interface or interface that we can use to take that. So again, this is in the notes, but I'm typing it over it so that everyone gets that. So whenever I'm just clicking on it, you see that what is happening. It shows 60,100.08. You know what is this? This is the current value of the Bitcoin. So this blockchain website, whenever someone writes something like this, it will give this data 60,100, like 60,100.08, whatever, right? So this is a value that it will provide. We want to extract this value from this page, from this link, and we want to show this again. What I have to do? We have to just, extract this data from here and display this data over here. Everyone understand this? We have to do that actually. But again, that has to be runtime, that has to be updated from the website, that has to be coming from the website, right? That is something you want to do. So the URL that we'll be using is this URL that is giving us this value. So blockchain.info/q/24-hour price. Okay. So what I'm doing, I am saying that, okay, window.onload, whenever this document gets loaded, you call a function get current value, which is of course not here, which is something that I have to create, of course, right? So now let's start creating this function, because I want to have this function over here. Function get current value. We are defining a function, get current value. Right? So the first things first, var XHR. You remember XML HTTP request. I want to make an XML HTTP request. So I will create a new XML HTTP request. Got everyone? Step number one. Like, I am running, or I need a new XHTML HTTP request. Now, as I said, okay, let me go back, take back to you. So we need to have this URL over here, right? So for that URL, what we are doing, let's do something interesting. So to define this URL, we will define a variable here, var URL equal to. Now, what is that URL? As I have mentioned you, like, let me just copy this URL from the point, like from the page, and I'll tell you what is this course equal to true. I'll just, cross origin, religion, region, etc. I'll just tell you, but right now just copy that one. You remember question mark? We had this till question mark, but what I've done is course is equal to true. And again, I've taken this from the web, from our notes page. You can also take it from the notes page. So I've defined this URL as like this, right? So now, as we saw that, now we'll be defining xhr.onload. Again, I want to like asynchronously run a function that will be bringing up that will run when the data will bring up, like that, then when data will come up. So var response, the first variable I'm creating, response equal to this DOS response text. So response text is the property over here. So we have just got the response from that, right? This is equal response is equal. So this response is the variable of this function, and this dot response is basically what? The XHTTP calls response, right? When I will be calling the response, that data will be coming, will be this dot response dot text. The owner of the function where we are calling this function. Now the other thing, creating a variable current value equal to. Now You remember we have used this syntax of backticks, and using backticks is always very interesting. Why? Because you can just embed your variable like that, and you can be USD. You remember we have talked about this backticks. Have we talked about this backticks and this variable inclusion over here? Anyone? Yes. So we have talked about that. So current value. So whenever this request comes on, we will get the response text. From this response text, we are just this response text will coming. So we are storing that in response. And now we are saying current value equal to response, again the variable that we have received, the value with USD. So again, you can do that or whatever, you can do something like this, dollar or whatever. So we have done that like USD. So let's put that to USD. Right? So once you receive that one, we will need to update our UI, our UI. Yes, string literals, that one. Yes. So now we need to update. So we need, for that, we will be just creating another function, Bitcoin value, current value. So we'll just update that value with our UI. It's not a function. Like it's not a predefined function. We need to define this pre. We will be defining this function. Define this function. That will update the UI. Right? So it will update our UI. Right? So we'll be creating this function shortly. Now, this XHR has some other features as well. You remember XHR.open, and I'll talk about the other one as well. So we use get method, and here I can pass what URL. Why? Because I've got this URL address here over here, and you can just use that typically over here. It's up to you. It's up to you. And the other part is again XHR.send. Again, typically send by request. Right? So there is something also called, if you can see in the notes, you would have been looking at XHR.error. So if some error occur, you need to run a function, and that function will be creating an event over here. So now update Bitcoin value. So we say unknown error, unable to get value. Right? So if error occurs, so update Bitcoin value in the 9 without any reason. Bitcoin value, and again, this is another function that we will be creating, like for the errors, right? Or maybe for the error of updating the value. Okay, so this is the same function that we're using, update Bitcoin value, right? So this will, if the value comes up, it will just store over here, and if the value does not comes up, it will show the error, unable to get the value, right? The same function will be used. Make sure the spelling is correct. I was using the wrong spelling. Okay, so far so good. Now we have got this current value function. Now we need what? Update Bitcoin value. Let's come back here at the top. Function update Bitcoin value. Right, and it will receive new value, of course. So we are creating another function. Right, and what we want to do here, you remember, update span value here. What does that mean? The span value. What is the span value? If you see here, this is the span value. So, we have given it ID, and this is the benefit of getting this ID, that I can just access this ID over here, and this is the span value that we have. Right, so we need to update that span value over here because we are updating the user interface. So let's first of all catch this one. You remember, I hope, query selector. And again, we have just moved to a bit of our old friend, DOM. Bitcoin dash value. So what is the name of this one? You see Bitcoin dash value. Let me just pop. Oh, you see that I've made a spelling mistake, but that's not a problem. I'm making that is here as well. Let's make that. So rather, what is the safest way of doing it? Safest way is, okay, dash value. The safest way is copy this from here And of course, it's coming up here. Now paste that one. Bitcoin value. So select that one, and you need to do a simple thing here: span dot inner HTML equal to new value. So you change that inner value to new value, right? I'm just keeping to this point. I know there is some other function as well, but I want you to just run to this point. So everyone is done this point till this point. That's good. Samuel is following here. So save this one and now run this one. Okay. Do you see something like this? And as I said, if you want to change that one again, we can just print out $1 here and see the dollar over here. Inner text. We have changed inner text. You're talking about that one. We have inner. Okay, this really does not matter because here's no HTML, so both will work, right? So inner text and inner HTML both will work the same way. Hopefully, there will be no change, right? So again, it will matter where there is HTML that you are uploading or something like that. Yes, how many of you see this output? Yes, why not? I can show you. Here it is, and let me just make it as big as possible, like that. Okay, did you see the code? Like, that's very good. Jonas is mind working. And who else is able to see that? This output? Okay, no, this not this output. This is directly from API. This is from our page.